Exploring the enigmatic histories of these old houses is a fascinating journey, and one of the great things about these old houses is that their histories are full of mysteries. Finding and solving these mysteries is what intrigues us as we return Chaplin House to its former self. In this video, we'll delve into the details surrounding the charming wooden shutters adorning the windows of Chaplin House. Finally, we will repair and reinstall a set. The first mystery arises about when and how these shutters were initially installed. Presumably the house had shutters originally, and our shutters are clearly from both the period when the house was built and very similar to shutters on other houses in the neighborhood. Let's take one example. Two notable features capture our attention in this set of shutters. First, the presence of these exquisite cast iron hinges with the Eastlake design and steeple tips. They add a touch of beauty whether the shutters are open or shut. Secondly, when fully closed, the shutters themselves meet the trim, leaving virtually no gap. On the other hand, on another set of shutters, a noticeable gap appears between the trim and the shutter's edge when the shutter is closed, revealing a small brass or modern hinge. When the shutters are folded open, the hinge disappears behind the shutter. Before you ask, no, there's no evidence that these shutters were once like the others. Then there's the question of the latches. Some are these beautiful Eastlake style latches, while others are made of copper in a more plain style. As if these questions weren't enough, as we unravel these deep architectural mysteries, another puzzle emerges. Like all vintage shutters, our shutters fold open and out of the way. Now this set folds open so that the panels are flat against each other and the knob is on the outside. But this set folds differently. The first panel folds out, so the knob is against the other panel and they cannot lay flat. Note the configuration of the hinges between the panels. Let's look at the first one again. Do you see how the hinge placement is different? That's because it folds in so the knob does not hit the next panel. Well, this would seem to be the correct hinge arrangement for each three-panel set. But, strangely, this is not the case. In fact, only one window in the house has the shutters made this way. There's no real mystery here. In fact, we know, or can safely assume, that the shutters were cut in half in order to install a window air conditioning unit inside the double-hung window. The real mystery, I guess, is why they even bothered to leave the bottom half of the shutter there. Well, I'm glad they did. If you have an idea of what they were thinking, please let us know in the comments. I do want to mention that in the next part, I'm using several products that we typically use for the cleaning and repairing of things like the shutters. I've listed these items in the description and I'm including an affiliate link to each item. Thank you for supporting our channel by watching and subscribing, but if you'd like to do more, please feel free to use the affiliate links. It doesn't cost you anything more, but we do get a small commission, which really helps. That's a good candidate for the crock pot. Now let's go to repair and reinstall one set of shutters that was cut in half. Hi, well here I'm going to go through my multi-step process for cleaning shellac trim in the house, and I'm going to do it on these shutters before I repair the shutters. First of all, I start with soap and water, just Dawn dish soap and water, and wipe it down to get rid of any of the dust and and stuff that's on the surface. I then try with the water. I should see if it has a little bit of beading or anything like that that would indicate there's some sort of wax or other, possibly a more modern finish on top. And if there is, then the wax I will take off or clean up and get rid of the impurities with a little mineral spirits. And finally, I will test a little spot just to double check that it is indeed shellac. I can already feel in here some of the shellac is beginning to alligator. So again, I'm certain that this is shellac. You'll notice this little hinge they put here because they cut the shutter and the hinge was on the bottom. They only used one hinge on the bottom, which makes it a little bit loose anyway. There is some damage up here. I don't think I will repair that. I think I'll leave that the way it is. My philosophy is to leave the patina of time to a certain extent at least. Wow, can you see that beautiful finish on the inside of these panels? Now, check this out, look at this. You can see that these are actual real panels inside this is an insert, so they built a frame around the panel. Beautiful. Maybe if I wasn't standing in the light, you'd see that better. Okay. Now, as I said, a little bit of water, although this is soapy water, might tell me if there's a wax on it, and it really doesn't look like there is. Because, of course, the shellac is not waterproof. It takes a while to soak in, but it doesn't really bead up. Let's try with a little of the natural mineral spirits substitute. I think I will sand these edges before I repair them. I had thought of putting dowels in here and attaching them with more than just glue, with actual wood dowels or biscuits. However, since I don't have a biscuit cutter, I don't have a template for my to put the dowels in, I'm afraid that I would drill a hole for the dowel that was off on one side, and then the whole thing would look more noticeable than simple glue. Wood glue works pretty well. It's super strong and, you know, likely as strong as the wood, so if they're two clean surfaces, it should be okay. And if not, I'll go get a template and use the dowel trick with the others. I can see it's lighter there. If I get stuff out of the light, you may be able to see that as well. And right here, sort of a drip there. So you can see that there is some refinishing that has been done or something, and this shellac is darker than that. So I'm going to take a look at one of the dark spots and see what happens. This is the 70% denatured alcohol. When I make shellac, I use 90%. So I suppose you can see how that has dissolved the shellac. So indeed it is a shellac finish. I don't want to get carried away, but I just love the way that cleans up. So, okay, on to the repair. So what I'm going to do is I will just lightly sand the edges to make sure that they're smooth, and then I will glue it and clamp it. And later I will refinish it after I fully repair the shutter, and to refinish it I should simply be able to float a little denatured alcohol on the surface, and that will clean up the shellac, dissolve into the shellac, and refloat that shellac finish. Now again, I'm just cleaning these up for me to repair them, and later I will be redoing the finish on them. So I hope you'll please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel, because your support really does help us to continue to create this content. Also, thank you for being a part of our community.